It's not every day that I come across an interview that I believe has so much hidden gold in it that a lot of people are going to miss, but this interview was one of those videos. The other day I came across an interview with the rapper Lil Wayne, who's arguably one of the GOATs of hip hop. And in the interview, he talked about his battles with mental health, where it all started for him, and what his life is like now. But after watching it, I felt that the video was so valuable in showing what can happen to all of us and what that means for all of us, especially for those of us that are Christians. Now do me a favor and stick around to the end of the video, because what I'm going to say for the rest of the video I believe is extremely important. All right, now let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, a lot of people might not know this, but Wayne actually attempted suicide at the age of 12. The events that led up to it all started at a young age because Wayne knew ever since he was little that he wanted to be a rapper. At one point, his mom caught him lying and she started throwing away all of his raps that he wrote, and this led to his attempt on his life. And he describes it this way.
Young, yeah, as a kid, around 10, feeling like you, when I was told that I couldn't have what I wanted, what I dreamed of, and what I desired, and that was to rap.
You actually pulled the trigger?
Yeah, I pulled the trigger.
Where'd you shoot?
In my chest.
All right, let's pause right there for a second. So at this point, some of you might be thinking, well, that's silly. He tried to harm himself because his mom just threw away some of his rap lyrics. But what's easy to miss is that it wasn't his raps that his mom threw away. She threw away what he believed to be his very identity, who he ultimately was. Our identities are who we really are at core, and who we believe that we are informs our meaning and purpose for living, and it also tells us the things that make us valuable. So at some level, the 12-year-old Wayne believed that the main way that he can justify why he deserved a spot on earth, the way that he can establish a sense of self-worth, and the way that he can become personally valuable was if he became a rapper. So what his mom took away from him wasn't really the raps, but really she took away what he believed to be the reason for him being alive. Now, to be perfectly clear, we all have something like that, and we're going to get to that in a bit. But first, I want you to take a listen to how he describes life as an adult now that he's achieved his phenomenal success as a rapper.
How could you be that popular but still feel alone?
When I say alone, I mean, again, when those doors close. When the lights come after the thank you, you got the homies, then you get to the bus, and then behind y'all boys good, blah blah blah, blah, whatever, and then them doors close again. So you start to think, well, do anyone actually care? Will it matter when it's all over? Will I matter? And that's always the question. Mm-hmm. Will you matter when it's all over? Will you matter? Not the things you've done, the things you've done for everyone else, but will you actually matter to them, but most of all to you?
All right, let's stop right here real quick. If you paid close attention to what he just said, you'll notice that the same place that he found his identity as a kid is the same place that he found his identity as an adult. But now as an adult, it seems that he's still haunted by the same fear that he won't matter unless he's making music.
Will I matter?
Now, to be clear, this isn't looking down on Wayne in the slightest, because I believe that Wayne is actually more self-aware than most of us when it comes to this. Wayne seems to be aware of what he believes makes him valuable at core, and most of us don't even notice what that thing is until it blows up in our faces or the thing is threatened or taken away from us. And even then, we may not even realize just how much our identity is grounded in those things. Humans are masters at self-deceit. In reality, Wayne's really just saying something that all of our hearts are saying on some level. We all have that thing that if we lose it, then we'll start to believe that life isn't worth living anymore. Whether it's being a good parent, or being successful, or being in a relationship, or being on the right team and fighting against the bad guys, or being a pastor, or a YouTuber, or whatever. Most of the time, the things are actually good things or good character traits, like being moral or helpful or being a loyal person. We all justify our existence some way, and this ties back to who we believe that we are at core and why we exist. So whatever it is, we really don't notice just how big of a hold that thing has on us until the thing gets threatened. And this is why Wayne, even after all of that success, Wayne defines the worst moment of his career like this.
At the height of you being a star, what was the lowest point of your career?
Not being able, that's a good question. When I was going through the situation with my record label and they wouldn't allow me to put an album out or put any music out. So when you compare that to whatever my mental health problem, my problem was back then, it was because I wasn't being allowed to do this, to be productive and be creative and to feel that I would love to do. So
And this is also why next he describes himself as being happy now. Now pay close attention to the reasons he gives for being happy.
You walked in from the moment we dapped each other up, you were in a good mood. Where are you now with your mental health? Are you happy with where you are now?
Actually, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Thank God. And it's simply because of being able to do what I love. And that's be productive and put some music out and help some people put music out and help people along the way. That's what I love. That's who I am. I guess simple cliche. That's who I was born to be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm extremely grateful for Wayne being so transparent in the interview and also for being in a much better place now. But the question that still lingers is, what happens when all of the music stuff is over? As Wayne already said, he worries that he won't matter once all of the music stuff is over, and now he seems to be happy because he's doing music again. But the music, it might not last forever. And that question can really be extended to all of us. What happens when we lose that thing that we base our identity on? If you believe that you're valuable because you're accepted by someone, what happens if or when that person stops accepting you, or even if they die? That will always be a possibility, and if your identity depends on them, then you won't be able to handle it if the worst were to happen. If your identity is found in something like being smart or being intelligent, then you're always going to be living in fear that you're really not as smart as you want people to think that you are. The thing is, there will always be people who do these things better than us, and we're always going to be at risk of losing them. So as long as our identity is found on someone or something on this earth, then it won't be stable and it will continue to fail us. Now, if I'm right about this, then this naturally leads to the question of, then what's the solution? Well, there's something that Jesus says in the book of Matthew that I think might help. In chapter 10, he says, "Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." Now, if you look up the Greek word there for life, the word is psychein, and it's where we get our English word psyche from. So with that in mind, one way that we can understand what Jesus is saying here is that he's speaking about how we understand our personal identity. So if we were to take that understanding, then we can understand Jesus to be saying, if we shed ourselves of the idea of finding our personal identity in the things of this world, and if instead then we find it in him, then and only then have we found our true identity. An identity that's stable, can't be taken away from us, and won't change based on the changing circumstances of life. And when it comes to salvation, if it were based on our personal performance, then our identity would be in flux in the same way it is when we base it on something on this earth. We'll feel secure when we're performing well, but we'll also be crushed and feeling worthless when we're not performing well. This is why the gospel is considered good news. In Christianity, we're not saved because of the life that we lived, but instead, we're saved based on the life that he lived. Now, it's important for us to remember that even as Christians, we all will still struggle here as long as we struggle against sin. All of us want to find our ultimate identities in everything but who God says we are, and that's ultimately a consequence of our fallen nature. So even here, we can't feel superior to anyone else. We can only continue to remind ourselves of this fact and renew our minds with his word and staying in communities with believers. So all in all, I can't express how much I appreciate Wayne for being so honest and so transparent, and I pray that he, like all of us, would find our identity in the right place, the only place that won't fail us. But if you're wondering what implications identity has when it comes to how people identify today in society, go ahead and click on this video to see what I mean, and I'll see you over there. But the next time you find yourself finding your identity in anything that you can find in this world, what are you gonna say? What do you mean?